Just bringing us up to date too, Cameron, your coaching career, the Currumbin Eagles.
Yes.
We haven't had an update for a while. Are they, school holidays, New South Wales? I'm not quite sure what the story is there. Are you back playing junior sport? How is the team going?
Yeah, no, they're going all right. We we had 2 weeks off, like all the other states, but we're going all right. We've got 4 rounds to go before finals, and we're sitting 2 points outside of the finals race at the moment. So. Just had a little chat to the boys last week and said, boys, come on, let's go. Big challenge. We've got to make it happen. So, yeah, big month of footy coming up, boys, but it's been great fun, actually. Good to see the
run to the finals.
Yes,
is on.
Yes, it is. Yeah, much like sort of several NRL clubs at the moment, sort of looking at the table and thinking time's running out. The same for my boys, so hopefully we can get it done.
Okay, what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk club footy, you want to talk Origin, or you want to talk Immortals?
Well, I'm the guest of your show today, so you take it wherever
okay, well,
you want,
let's
Randy.
kick it off. Let's kick it off. Let's kick it off with the Immortal chat, because we had it last week, but we haven't spoken to you about it. And I think you were the favourite in the poll taken in the Telegraph last week. You were the favourite to become the next Immortal. Now, I don't want to embarrass you, but. You will. Doesn't matter when it happens. It will happen. It's just a matter of when it happens that you become an Immortal. If you were to pick out of some of those great names, who do you think should become the next Immortal?
Well, first and foremost, I get a little bit embarrassed talking about this stuff because this is you don't play the game for this reason, right? You play it for many other reasons, but I am flattered and that my name's been mentioned alongside some of the greatest players of our game. But look, I think that I'd love to see some of the guys that have played or finished their career some time ago. I'd love to see them inducted as an Immortal. Someone like Ron Coote, who was such a legendary player. He's actually my father's favourite player when he was growing up. So you look at his career. Over such a long period of time, over 250 games that he played. Was it 6 premierships? I think he finished with. And played for New South Wales, played for Australia. I think he'd be a fantastic candidate. A couple of guys, that I grew up watching as well. Alan Langer, I think is sometimes forgotten, for the things that he did in the game. There's not many people, that played in his position that were able to achieve the things that Alfie did, particularly at such a high level, playing, I guess, State of Origin and Test matches and things like that. So, he's another guy as well. I think Darren Lockyer, just given that he dominated the game for a long period of time and did it playing 2 different positions. So it wasn't just, he came into the game as a fullback and then made the transition to 5'8" and did not miss a beat. Like, he won a golden boot in both positions as the best player in the world. So to me, that's pretty impressive. And then I'll probably finish with one other, Peter Sterling. I think, you look at the dominance of Parramatta, through that early to mid 80s. It was all off the back of Sterlo and the way he played. And, I talk with Fatty a fair bit about, some of the older footy and he said, mate, every time we took on Parramatta, there was one guy that we needed to shut down, and it was Sterlo. And it didn't matter how hard we tried; like, you just couldn't stop him. Like, he was just too smart for everyone. He was 2 plays ahead of everyone else, and he was the main guy that were behind that dominant sort of era for Parramatta, and they haven't had that success since he left. So I just think those 4 guys there, they'd be perfect, inductees into, I should say, to be immortalised, those 4 candidates right there.
Yeah, look, it is a great discussion. It is a great discussion. And if I was picking out of the Parramatta side, and I will bring you in, Brandy, and you got to play in this era, I have Brett Kenny as the Parramatta player. And like the Crows there, Mick Cronin, Pricey's there, Ray Price. See, I have them as either Hall of Famers or legends of our game. I think Brett Kenny's the prime candidate from the great Parramatta era as an Immortal. If they announce Brett Kenny and Ron Coote as the 2, and we're cutting off at 1990, I'd be very satisfied with that result. I think Brett Kenny, Ron Coote up there, Immortal status, I'd be comfortable with that.
Yep. I said that last week, and we spoke extensively about the Immortals last week, Fossey, and I said, well, I think Brett Kearney should be the next inducted. So if we were to do what we think should happen and go back and just tick off those that have been retired for a long time.
Yeah, okay. Now, Cameron, we'll move on from Immortals. The Broncos, before we get into Origin, let's just get there. We had a salty Corey Parker on the program earlier.
Ooh.
Are you like the Broncos are now? There are only 2 points. There are only two teams on the ladder with less competition points accumulated this year, and that's the Eels and the Tigers fighting out the wooden spoon.
Yeah.
That is staggering. Are Brisbane now out of it after what you saw the other night? They're sitting 18 points. It's 4 out of the 8. They play Newcastle this week. If they lost, there'd be 6 points out of the 8. Do you want to get the red felt pen out?
Well, I think they're almost done, aren't they? They had to win the other night. They just had to win. I know they're missing a few of their stars with Origin, and they've got injury issues, but there's a lot of teams dealing with those same challenges throughout this year. Like we've seen the huge injury toll that a lot of clubs have suffered, but they just haven't responded this year. So, after that match concluded the other night against the Dragons, I was watching a bit of the coverage and people were talking about mathematical situations. Anytime your team is lumped into a conversation with mathematical situations, that's when you know you're in trouble. So they have to win. I think is it something like 6 out of their last 7 games or 8
Correct.
games?
Yes. 6 from 7.
That's that's going to be a real struggle given the standard of football that they've played over the last 6 weeks. They have not won a game. They've lost for 6 weeks. It's just incredible. And the difference in the Broncos this year to last year, well, let's just start with number one. They had a fully fit side pretty much the entire season last year. Reynolds missed a handful of games. But this year, they've had Walsh out, they've had Haas out. Reynolds has hardly played. But that's not an excuse because they've got a very, very strong lineup. And at the start of this year, I had the Broncos as premiership favourites. Coming off the back of the grand final loss, I thought they'd just kick and go to another level, but they just haven't. And it looks as though that there's a bit of a mindset within the football team that, it's just going to happen for them. When they walk out in the field this year, it's like what happened last year. It's just going to happen for them again. But the difference is they were willing to work hard for those results last year. This year just doesn't seem that way. So, look, we've seen sort of bits and pieces of their form last year throughout 2024, but it just hasn't been consistent enough. And when you have to win 6 of your last 7, given the form that you've shown over the last couple of months, I think it might be a little bit too difficult for them to make it now.
They're still got to buy up their sleeve, but they play all the Queensland sides. They also play Newcastle starting next week. They play the Dogs the week after that. Then it's a run of Queensland games, the Titans, the Cowboys, the Eels, the Dolphins, and they brush home with the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah.
Now, that might be in their favour, the fact that they play the Storm at the back end of the season, Cam, because Melbourne might have the minor premiership all wrapped up. They might be at a luxury where they can rest players. So that's what Brisbane face over the next 7 weeks. In the other games over the weekend, the Dolphins the Dolphins had a great win, and they were on the slide. Souths were on a roll. No Latrell, but I was impressed with the Dolphins' play.
Yeah, they were good. They were really good, and a couple of guys that stood up. I thought Trey Fuller was fantastic. Playing at fullback again. Yeah, again. He's just every time he's come in with no hammer being in the team, whether it be through injury or representation at Origin, he's played well. He's played so well, and he's a slightly different build and slightly different player, but he plays a similar style though, like with his explosive speed, and he just loves to take on the defensive line. So I thought he was really, really good. I thought Pangai Jr. really got the Dolphins away to a great start. He had a huge impact in his first stint. I think he played about, sort of 15, 20 minutes, first 15, 20 minutes. But a couple of his carries and his late offloads gave South all sorts of drama. You got to remember, though, that towards the end of the game, I think they were like 5 tries all. But the goal kicking was just they were horrible.
Six tries all, Cameron. Yes, six
Cody,
tries all.
should stop goal
There you
kicking.
go.
And Tane Milne as well. I haven't worked out whether he's a right foot or a
No,
left
well, that's right. He looked confused,
Maybe he
didn't he, when he was coming in? I was at the ground commentating that game, and just as he come in and took a bit of I wouldn't even call it a kick. He sort of like poked at the ball, but I just thought, oh, you poor fella. I felt sorry for him because Cody just went, no, I'm not kicking anymore. He had a couple of shanks and said, no, it's not for me. But yeah, they just looked a little bit off, the Rabbitohs. They had that late comeback, but that was when there was no. Really, they just threw the ball around. It was the last roll of the dice for them, really, to try and get a win. But when the game was on the line, they just they couldn't find any type of go forward or quality football up the other end.
All right, Cameron, we'll take a little breather here on Breakfast with Vossi and Brandy. The GOAT, Cameron Smith, is in the house. If you've got a question, fire it in on the Edgewater Homes text line, 0457 736 736.